The chair now recognizes Representative Brad Sherman from the 30th District of California and who serves on the Financial Services Committee for 5 minutes for questions.
Thank you. The homeless issue is a combination of issues. Some are homeless because of substance abuse and psychological problems and trauma. Some are mostly homeless because the rent's too damn high. They can't afford it. And I'm going to focus on this panel on that second group, people who would be in an apartment if we had Wichita rents, but we have Los Angeles rents. And I'd say that this group of homeless people is just the tip of the iceberg. For every person sleeping in their car or sleeping in the park, there are 10 people who can barely afford their rent. There are 10 people who have an unlawful detainer that they're worried about, and they're at a payday lender trying to. There are 10 people who are cutting back on their medication so that they can pay their rent. There are 10 people sleeping on their friend's couch. We only see the folks that are absolutely homeless. But for so many people, the rent's too damn high. And it's a problem that we face in a number of big cities, but particularly here in Los Angeles. And some of it relates to relatively unique factors here. One is we're the biggest city in the world without a grade-separated rail system. So anytime you try to build something, the first reaction is not, that person is going to be with me on the train. No, that person's going to be in a car in front of me on the freeway. We've got NIMBYs who won't let you build, or people who think that my property values will go down unless the people who live near me are richer than I am. You've got the fiscalization of land use planning, where every city is told if you can attract an auto dealer, you get more money, and it costs you almost nothing. If you accommodate housing and that same property, you get no extra money for your city budget because the property tax goes elsewhere, and it's going to cost you some money for police and fire. But what I'm going to focus on here is impact fees. You want to build an apartment, and we need money to run the government. If we should tax people based on their ability to pay. We have something that does that. It's called the state income tax. Instead, in part, we're taxing people on their ability to build, and those costs are then passed through to tenants. Ms. Miller, LA Times had a headline, one reason housing is so expensive in California, counties and cities charge developer fees. Local impact fees impact whether a project gets built, and if the law of supply and demand, one of the few laws Congress cannot repeal, is operative. If we can get more supply, that will influence not only the people who live in that new unit, but it'll bring the supply demand cost down. What has LA done to mitigate impact fees as a barrier to development, particularly the development of low-income, affordable housing?
Yes, thank you for your question. I will start by saying the City of LA is committed to removing regulatory barriers to building housing at a cheaper rate and keeping costs low, particularly so they don't get passed on to tenants. If I can talk about 3 areas in which we are working to streamline the development of new housing here in the City of LA. The first thing I'll start with is the Mayor's Executive Directive 13. This is a streamlined measure that puts the building for any affordable housing project essentially at the top of the line, and it's aimed.
Let me interrupt. I know you're talking about streamlining things. If somebody wants to build an apartment unit in the San Fernando Valley, how much of a fee is imposed per unit for them to be allowed to build that unit? What is the impact fee?
Sir, Sir, I can get that information to you more detailed in terms of the exact breakdown of what the fees are. What I can tell you is that through the streamlining measures...
And I do want to comment, I rarely do this to somebody. It's not that these fees will be passed on to the consumer, it's that the building won't be built. And then everybody will pay a higher rent because the supply of units will be down while the demand is still up. So you'll try to tell us what this fee is.